Very pleasant good evening, everyone. A little something different from the Oxnard Harbor on tonight's edition of Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford. I'm Brad Sham with Mickey Spagnola. We thought since it was Sunday, we have a few extra minutes tonight, we would give you a little sense of where we are and put on our jackets because we can, because we wanted to.
But the Oxnard Harbor
and the
is
Oxnard
just
Harbor
a wonderful place to be.
Terrific. And by the way, if you come by in the next 30 minutes, Mickey will be found at the rudder room right over there, and it's all on him. So the Cowboys' first two practice days are in the books now, and tomorrow will be the first mandated off day for the players. And you usually see some things in pads that you just couldn't see without. What did you see? What jumped out at you?
The pads, I thought it was really competitive, number one. One of the things I was interested in seeing, Brad, was how Connor Williams fit in with this offensive line. They used a second-round draft choice on the offensive lineman guard tackle from Coppell, and they're moving him to guard. And what I saw in the offseason, I really liked. I mean, in the spring, I liked, they liked, but again, pads, right? So the first time the pads came on, he fit right in. I had to pick out like a star of the day, and I picked Connor Williams. He was awfully good in the one-on-one pass drills. He was awfully good in team. Didn't look like he's making any mistakes. And the thing that stood out, Brad, he's got really good feet. Mm-hmm. He can move. I think some people were worried about his strength, but I think he can compensate for that, maybe as a rookie, by how well he moves. What about you,
well,
too?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I also, my eyes were caught by what Connor Williams did, and but Byron Jones kind of jumped out at me. Now, he also made a big interception that is the kind of thing that attracts a lot of attention, so people think, oh, he made. But to me, it was more than that. You can kind of see him helping direct traffic back there. There's a certain leadership mantle that goes with this secondary. Orlando Scandrick was the veteran. He's not here anymore, and everybody's new under Chris Richard and his scheme. And one of the first things that Chris Richard said we want to do is move Byron Jones back to corner, but I don't know if this is even a back to corner for Byron. I think this is a different kind of corner than he's played, different kind of system, and things like Ezekiel Elliott always runs out every play, and Byron Jones always runs the length of the field
right after him,
right behind him, and seems to be really directing traffic back there. And if I had to pick another one, I think it's important to point out Elliott, because we just didn't really ever see him at his peak last year, and there's no indication that he's anything but ready to go and have his best year ever.
Funny thing on Byron Jones, he said after the first padded practice on Saturday that he and Chido Awuzie, they made a bet before the practice who was going to get the first interception. Well, he got the interception on Saturday, and when he was doing the interview, and he goes, okay, pay up, $100. So they had a little thing going. The other thing that I noticed, and I mentioned Connor Williams, but I thought the offensive line hadn't missed a beat. I mean, they just were doing awfully well in the one-on-one pass rush drills, but when they got into team, they were making holes for Zeke. They were protecting Dak Prescott, and I just thought they dominated that first padded practice. And if anybody's going to dominate, now you know, if they dominate, then you worry about the defensive line, right?
That's right.
But they're supposed to. They're good, and they're going to dominate a lot of defensive lines. So it was good to see them kind of very cohesive with a rookie fitting in, and Lale Collins looks like he is a right tackle.
That pass rush drill that Mickey talked about has been a favorite of mine since forever. Later next week, we're going to zero in on that drill a little bit and show you some of the fine points of it. But I do think, as you pointed out, it gives you an early indication of where everybody is and what kind of competitive aspect is going to be brought to the practice into the team, and I thought that really stood out.
Yeah, and absolutely. And then we'll finally get a chance to see the wide receivers and DBs go at themselves a little more. And one thing real quick, I was watching Sanjay Lal. They were doing some wide receiver drills, and it was against air, but there was a lot of different drills that I hadn't seen.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because it's not just Sanjay Lal, and remember, Jerry Jones has said from the beginning of camp, as well as the off-season, it's the coaching staff that has him excited. Richard had the defensive backs doing an actual tackling drill that I'd never seen before. And remember, the way helmets have to be used now with the new rules, tackling form is going to be it's going to decide some games. You're going to avoid some penalties. You have to be sure tacklers, and it's clear from these early drills, Chris Richard is a big believer in tackling right.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's a must, as a matter of fact, in the secondary. We mentioned the coaches, and of course, Sanjay Lal and Chris Richard are two of a number of new coaches on the Cowboys coaching staff, but there are also, as there usually are, some young men who are trying to join their ranks. And we're going to have that story when we continue from the Oxnard Harbor on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. Sleep Number. The new Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store. And by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by Sleep Number. The new Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store.
Welcome back to the Oxnard Harbor. It's Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford. Brad Sham, Mickey Spagnola. We just like saying the Oxnard Harbor because we come out every chance we get, and when you get a chance to do it here on a Sunday evening after the first 2 days of padded practices, it's a nice respite, which is what the players have coming up. Now, everyone knows that every team in the NFL has more players in camp right now than they are going to have when the regular season starts. But we seldom think about the fact that that's also true of the number of coaches. The 90-player NFL offseason roster cuts to a 53-man limit for the regular season. There is no limit for coaches, although most teams hire around 25. But the Diversity Fellowship Program adds coaching depth, and it opens doors for future candidates in the coaching profession. The Cowboys, who had used the fellowship program for years, have 3 this summer: Tabiti Davis and former Cowboys players Phillip Tanner and George Selby. They have predecessors on this staff, including Leon Lett and Andre Girard. Lett is in his 8th season of a Cowboys coaching career that essentially began with a cold call.
Well, I sent letters out to every NFL team, and I got a response back from a couple of teams, and one of them was the Cowboys, and it was a no-brainer for me to have a chance to come back to the team that I played for, and it's been so great to meet this organization, and it's been fun, so it was like a dream come true for me.
Head coach Jason Garrett, a former teammate of Lett on 2 Super Bowl champions, is a big believer in the program.
You know, to me, it's a great chance to just get them integrated, try to teach them what we want them to do with our players, and that gives them an opportunity to grow. You know, Leon Lett was in this same program a few years back and gives us a chance to evaluate someone on a daily basis and see if we want to see more of them. And I think it's a great opportunity for those guys, but an equally good opportunity for us.
Phillip Tanner, the Dallas Kimball product, who played 3 years for the Cowboys, has already been given an intern position for the season. The former running back is working with special teams to fulfill a long-time ambition.
Well, I've always been one to coach, even as a player. You know, when guys like Lance Dunbar, Joe Sarando, when those guys would come in, you know, it would just be kind of like a player's coach. And from the moment I started playing football from the college level, high school level, I've always wanted to coach. So I was always that player's coach.
George Selby, the former defensive end, has no guarantees, but he's grateful for a chance that's part of a post-playing career search.
I went to a few coaching clinics, and they always brought it up, you know, NFL coaching clinics and stuff like that. And so I heard about it, and I called Leon Lett, and I asked him about the program, and he actually, you know, talked to a few things, talked to a few guys about it. So, you know, with that, we just ran from that. I just kept in contact with Leon, and he got me in here.
Running backs coach Gary Brown currently oversees the team's diversity fellowship. He brings candidates to head coach Garrett. Sometimes former players apply, sometimes coaches suggest it, but in all cases, Garrett sees a common thread.
Each of those guys who are with us this year have demonstrated that for us, and we're just excited to have them in. And the big thing is to make sure they stay engaged. Sometimes they can feel themselves on the periphery because they're only here for 3 or 4 weeks. But they're in all of our meetings. They have a position group, they have responsibility, and we try to challenge them, and that'll help them grow, and they'll certainly help us as well.
The league's diversity coaching program goes back decades. One of the first that I can remember for the Cowboys was Robert Ford, who the former tight ends coach on Jimmy Johnson's first staff. And they've really developed some outstanding coaches through the years. None of us who saw Leon Lett play would have ever thought that Leon was going to make a coach. But he's not only made a coach, he's made a really good coach. And it's just interesting to me the way that he is now a conduit. Like he's coaching his players, but he's also coaching George Selby on how to be a coach. This is a great way for young men who might or might not have thought about coaching as a profession to get a foot in the door.
I remember when Leon Lett first told me that he was getting, I said, well, what are you doing here? He goes, oh, I'm going to coach. And I said, you're going to coach? I said, do you realize you got to talk to coach, And he kind of came out of his shell. The coaching kind of brought him out, and he really coaches hard. The other thing I noticed about these young guys, and I know we only been in camp less than a week, but they expect these guys to engage. They're not there to just watch. They're there to coach and help. And Phillip Tanner with the special teams, he's jumped right in there. And so, yeah, I think it's a great experience, and this gives these guys a chance. Maybe if they're looking for a job on their resume, it says Dallas Cowboys training camp, and that's got to help you.
It's a kind of an untold story or little told story, but it's a great way for these guys to come into the NFL in a different capacity and maybe find careers, whether it's in pro football or not, that might last them for all of their lives. Now, you have young coaches trying to get in the league. Training camp's all about young players trying to get in the league. And when we come back, Lindsey Draper's got the story of the Cowboys quarterback that you don't know anything about. This is Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford.
This segment was brought to you by Sleep Number. The new Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store.
Welcome back to Oxnard, California. It's Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford. Brad, Sham, Mickey Spagnola. Tonight we're at the Oxnard Harbor. If you have been with us for the entire program, A, thank you. B, it's not the extra glass of wine you had. We moved the camera so you can see it a little different. You're not going crazy. This training camp, like all training camps, is about opportunities for young players. And in the Cowboys case, that's pretty much the whole team. There's only 3 players, as you know, who are 31 years of age or older. At quarterback, they're really young because the starter is only in his 3rd year. That would be, of course, Dak Prescott. And the backup is in his 2nd year, Cooper Rush. And they drafted Mike White, who's going to challenge Rush perhaps. And oh, by the way, there's another one trying to get into the mix. Here's Lindsey Draper.
I'm Dalton Sturm, played quarterback, and I went to UTSA.
Dalton Sturm enters training camp from being a 3-year starter at the University of Texas at San Antonio. He finished his senior campaign with a 137.4 passer rating, 62.3 completion percentage, and 15 touchdowns to just 5 picks.
Definitely think my coaches prepared me a lot. I had my quarterback coach who came from Jacksonville. He was a quarterback coach in Jacksonville for a couple of years. So he really threw a pro-style offense at me and made me do a lot of stuff in the run game, checks-wise, a lot of different, made me learn the nuances of a defense. So I think coming into that and being able to learn that while I was still in college instead of learning what a bunch of guys learn now, which is just the college spread system, really helped me to be able to pick up this offense and do it at a fast pace.
He may not get many snaps in camp due to the depth chart, but he feels his past has prepared him for when that opportunity comes.
I'm a pretty tough player. I'm a pretty tough guy to take out of the game, and I take pride in that, being able to to start 33 games in college in a row is something I take pride in. So being able to stay on the field and being able to make plays and stuff like that is just something I really take pride in.
Fun fact about Sturm, he sees himself more than just a football player.
I'm a basketball player at heart. I'm a pretty good basketball player. I was going to dual sport in college until I was a starting quarterback and they told me no. But I'm more of a dunker though.
Lindsey, thanks very much. It's going to be tough for this young guy to get in and get a lot of repetitions, but I think some people said that about Cooper Rush for a while last year too.
Yeah, exactly, because he came in and he wasn't a draft choice, right? And they have him here, and he's the backup quarterback. So, you know, you need 4 quarterbacks at training camp. If for nothing else, you need another live arm. You don't want to wear out your starter. And then there's the preseason games you got to think about. How long is your starter going to play? How long is Cooper Rush going to play? So it's an opportunity. And what these guys, I know what they're looking at. Just give me a chance. Maybe I get on somebody's practice squad.
Right.
You never know. And, you know, the Cowboys could keep 3 quarterbacks and a guy on the practice squad if Sturm stands out and they really like him. So it's about opportunity. It's about getting something on tape to have maybe another team look at you also.
They will divide up these practice reps. Dalton Sturm will do what he can to impress, and then when they get into the team period, the question is, can he move the team?
Right.
Because that's the quarterback's job, and it doesn't matter about his mechanics or his arm strength. Can you move the team? And Dalton Sturm will get an opportunity to do that probably in the preseason games as well, because I can't imagine Dak Prescott's going to be overexposed.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, during training camp practice last year, in practice, Cooper Rush was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you got in the games and it's like, oh, look at this guy, right?
Took about 2 weeks to say, well, okay, they're keeping him.
Right.
And so that's what Dalton Sturm is hoping for. Now, this camp has already, just 4 days in, tested the Cowboys' players' leadership. Mickey's got more on that story when we continue on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford.
As far as the Dallas Cowboys are concerned, you know where I stand. Our team knows where I stand on the issue.
I never protest during the anthem, and I don't think that's the time or the venue to do so. The game of football has always brought me such a peace, and I think it does the same for a lot of people. A lot of people playing the game, a lot of people watching the game, a lot of people that have impact of the game. So when you bring such a controversy to the stadium, to the field, to the game, it takes away from that. It takes away from the joy and to the love that football brings a lot of people. And so for me, I'm all about making a change. And I think this whole kneeling and all that was all about just raising awareness, and the fact that we're still talking about social injustice years later. I think we've got to that point. I think we've proved and we know that there's social injustice. So I'm up for taking a next step, that whatever that step may be, for action and not just kneeling. I've always believed standing up for what I believe in, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
I mean, it's different ways to revolt, you know. I mean, do things in your community is number one. I mean, that's number one. That's the reason why we're doing this in the first place. And just coming together as a team and, you know, understanding that there is social, you know, inequalities in this country, and understanding we have to do such as a team, in which we have. We discussed it already, and, you know, hoping we can put this bit to bed.
Us as a team, we chose to stand together for the national anthem, and it was our decision, and I think it just shows our culture. It shows that, you know, that we have unity. We're gonna stand as one. That's not knocking anyone else who may choose to kneel during the national anthem, but we're the Dallas Football Cowboys, America's team. We stand for the national anthem.
Welcome back to Oxnard, California, everybody. It's Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford. I'm Brad Sham with Mickey Spagnola at the Oxnard Harbor tonight after the Cowboys' first 2 days of padded practices, and tomorrow on Monday is an off day, not for us. We'll still be here, but the players and most of the coaches will have off for a good part of the day tomorrow, and some of these guys can use a little break, because not only are you sore a little bit after the first 2 days of padded practice, but the first 2 days before that, with the anthem conversation and then the tweet storm that happened on Friday, that involved Des Bryant, that really tested the leadership of a young team.
Yeah, and I thought that it didn't really faze this team whatsoever. And the guy that it can't faze is the quarterback. And I thought Dak Prescott handled that all awfully well, stood up there, and he basically did what Jason Witten would have done. It's like, okay, somebody's got to be the spokesman. I'm the spokesman. And everybody's so worried about leadership on this team. But this kid, I think, is a natural leader. And let's hear what Jason Garrett had to say about him.
You know, he's one of the most natural leaders I've ever been around. You know, we talked about it. You hear the last couple days. He just has an amazing way of, first and foremost, setting the right example for how to do things. I think that's number one when you're in a leadership role. But then just his ability to connect with different people of all walks of life. Different ages, different positions, different sides of the ball. He just has an amazing way of connecting and ultimately getting guys to play for him. And, you know, it takes work for everybody, but he does it as well as anybody I've seen, certainly at his stage in his career. So it's a big part of your job when you're a quarterback, and you have to embrace that mantle, and he's certainly done that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always been a leader, so I mean, it's just about finding new ways to lead, and it's going to continue to evolve each and every year that I get more experience and I get older. So it's just about finding new ways that I can lead, new ways that I can come in contact with my teammates, motivate them, or do whatever I have to do to get the best out of them. If I get to know these guys as men and as a brother rather than just the jersey number, then when you're on the field, it all comes easier.
So what really caught my attention, I was almost at the point of getting tired, Brad, of hearing the leadership. I mean, how many more times are we going to hear about this leadership thing? Because I thought Dak was a leader when he was a rookie. But later, after the press conference, when Jason Garrett talked about him, he went and off to the side, and he said, you know, this guy is as close to a leader as Troy Aikman was early in Troy Aikman's career. And he said, you know, when Troy walked into a room, you knew who was in charge. You knew he could command the room. And if you've been around Dak Prescott just a little bit, you understand how he just relates to everybody, the offense, the defense, the special teams, the kickers, making friends with the offensive linemen, what you're supposed to do, right? And so people listen to him when he talks. He's got that kind of magnetic personality, and it's a good thing, and they will miss Jason Witten, but I think that the mantle has been passed on to some other guys.
And tomorrow, a day off for the players and a chance to kind of regroup and see what has happened in those first 2 days of practice. But as I said, not for us. Mickey and I will be back in Oxnard, although not here at this harbor, tomorrow on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, brought to you by Ford.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. Sleep Number. The new Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store. Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Want to tour AT&T Stadium? For more information, call 817-892-TOUR or visit attstadium.com/tours.